rolling on my end. Cool. So yeah, we're good to go. We're going to start really easy. And I know this feels like super formal, but can you tell me your first and last name and spell it for me, please?
Yeah, my name is Damian Bunting. That's Damian. Last name is Bunting, Bunting.
Great. Okay. So walk me through, why did you decide to go through there yesterday? Why did you want to see it?
Well, to be 100% honest with you, I'm just absolutely exasperated with Portland. You know, in July, my fiance and I, we made the decision to move out here. We were in Missouri, and one of the main reasons why we were unhappy with Missouri was that it was such a conservative state. You know, I'm in an interracial relationship. We didn't really have any overt racism, but, you know, I went through a business deal where I lost about $25,000. Just the overtones of a lot of the things that were happening, it just wasn't a good place for us to be. And when COVID hit, I was forced to close my business. She was forced to close hers. And we just decided to move to the Pacific Northwest. You know, we wanted to be in a better environment. We wanted to be in a better climate. We wanted to be closer to the coast. So, you know, Portland seemed like a great move, but we literally moved here in the absolute middle of pandemonium, you know, with the protest with George Floyd. And so it was interesting because I've always been the most liberal-minded person, the most outspoken liberal-minded person generally anywhere that I've been. I grew up in Arkansas and then living in Missouri. But then coming out here, you know, I was kind of thrust into this position where I had to really kind of examine a lot of my thought process and how I was seeing things. But that's a long-winded way of saying that, you know, I understood and wholeheartedly, for the most part, supported the George Floyd protest. When things kind of shifted to this red house on Mississippi and I started to look into it, I just really couldn't understand the thought process behind it. I have a lot of thoughts on that. But more importantly than that, I personally have been dealing with the district attorney, with the commissioners, with the sheriff's department, something very, very simple, trying to get my concealed carry permit. I'm a 2A advocate. I'm former military. I have worked in law enforcement in various stages. And so for me, moving to Portland and wanting to get that concealed carry license, like I've gotten in every other state that I lived in, I was following the law and the rules to get that. Oregon is an open carry state, which means that you are duly able to carry your firearm as long as it is in plain view. But the county of Multnomah, for reasons that I can only assume would be that a lot of people are afraid at the sight of firearms, passed an unnecessary ordinance that in order for you to open carry your firearm, you have to have a concealed carry license. In order to get that concealed carry license, you literally have to go to the sheriff's department on Burnside that has been the site of protest ever since I moved here in July. So something that should have literally taken at the most a couple of weeks. I've never waited more than 30 days to get a concealed carry license, but that process has taken through December. The excuses have been the protests, the excuses have been COVID. And to be quite honest, you know, I'm a law-abiding citizen, so I didn't really have a problem with that. But the issues that I was having is that while I'm trying to follow the rule of the law, this unnecessary ordinance that's being passed here in Multnomah County, all throughout Portland, I'm seeing people break the law. Now, for me, you know, I'm just that, you know, I'm older than most people who are probably going to be watching this. You know, I was brought up that there's right, there's wrong, there's very little gray area, there's very little nuance in terms of law. So for me, trying to follow the letter of the law, I'm literally meeting stop gaps and log jams at every step But in every aspect of my life here in Portland, all I see is the law being broken. So after the protest of George Floyd's situation, which I completely understood, the mayor came out and he had a list. I believe it was a list of 10 things that he was immediately, with the stroke of his pen, diverting money towards, things that he was taking off the books. And then the district attorney comes out and he says that he will not prosecute people that are involved in arson. I'm paraphrasing, involved in arson, involved in interference with the police officer, all the things that go along with the protests. And I'm looking at this as a new citizen to Portland, and I'm thinking to myself, I am simply trying to follow the ordinance and mandates set out by Multnomah County, and I'm being hit with all of these areas where it's stopping me. But when I look out my door, I see people sleeping on the sidewalk. I see rampant drug abuse. I see people, engaging in vandalism, and all of that, I swallowed and I dealt with. But when the situation at the Red House just this week, I noticed people carrying firearms, AR-15s, Glock handguns, people standing guard, giving the okay to either go in or leave for people that live in that neighborhood. And that absolutely blew my mind. But the thing that really frustrated me to the point of literally going down there yesterday was that as these people are engaging in the unlawful brandishing of firearms without a concealed carry permit, I read on the local news and the national news that the mayor and the district attorney have actually been in verbal contact with the families and the people that speak for the family of the Red House about how they can have the people that are standing guard with armed weapons, the people that have barricaded 3 city blocks, how they can be released without any charges. So for me, a law-abiding citizen, a disabled veteran, I've been literally jumping through hoops. I've contacted Commissioner Hardesty multiple times. I've contacted the DA multiple times. I have the emails. I've contacted every single Multnomah County commissioner, the city commissioners. I've reached out to the sheriff. I have done everything that I could possibly do, being a law-abiding citizen, to be able to exercise my rights given to me under the Constitution, my rights given to me as a new citizen here in Oregon. And all I have heard, if I've gotten any response at all, was why they could not do something for me. I want to be very transparent here. I reached out to the district attorney and I sent an email. I said, simply send me a response in an email that says, if I am stopped in my vehicle with a firearm, if I'm stopped on the streets of Multnomah County with a firearm, that I won't be prosecuted. I asked this of the sheriff's department. I asked this of almost every single person that I contacted. Just send me an email that says I will not be in trouble. They refuse to do that. But I'm watching the Red House situation that went through the legal process, and I don't know the ins and outs of that family situation. I empathize with them. I sympathize with them. I am as liberal as anybody else. But from all accounts, they have gone through the legal process, and someone else, after foreclosure, has purchased that home legally. Now we have the mayor, we have the district attorney, we have the chief of police refusing to do their job and negotiating with people who have barricaded 3 to 4 blocks of city streets with other businesses, with other homes. And the message that's being sent, no different than the message that was being sent over the 100 and however many days of the George Floyd protest, is that there is no limit to what you can do in Portland in terms of breaking the law. that the mayor and the district attorney and the commissioners will not bend over backwards to make sure that you are satisfied with the outcome. However, if you are a law-abiding citizen, if you're a taxpayer, if you're a business owner, if you park on the side of the street longer than your parking pass permits, you will be prosecuted. You will have your business shut down. You will be given a ticket. Like myself, you will have to jump through hoop after hoop after hoop. What's really frustrating to me is that everything that I've explained to you, the processes that I've gone through, I could not get a response back from the district attorney. For the average citizen to get a meeting with Ted Wheeler, it is almost impossible. But if you break the law, if you commandeer a street or a sidewalk, not only will you get the attention of the mayor, not only will you get the response of the district attorney, but like this family that is at the Red House, you will get a financial windfall. Word is right now that they're looking at $300,000 on a GoFundMe account. I work 40 to 70, sometimes 80 hours a week to make ends meet. I've been here since July. I haven't gotten a dime handed to me from the city of Portland or from the county of Multnomah. The first thing that I did when I got here is I beat the streets and I got a job. And I have to open up my Twitter account and daily see where some aspect of the money of Portland is being diverted to the homeless. The county has diverted $2 million from the CARES Act into $500 gift cards to be given out to the homeless. I understand and I respect the plight of the homeless people here in Portland, but not one time did the city leaders, not one time did the commissioners think that that $2 million under the CARES Act could be diverted into $500 gift certificates or money cards for people whose businesses have been shut down downtown. That is why I went down there yesterday. Because what I'm hoping will happen is that I will inspire people just like myself. And I want to say this one more thing, and I'll let you, I'm sorry to have commandeered the entire interview here, but I'm passionate about this because I've been here since July. I have not run into one person at work, in my neighborhood, at a restaurant, at a bar, not one person who actually has skin in the game in this city. Not one person that has a job, that has a family, that is from here, that truly has something to lose in Portland, that is okay with what's happening. What happens is that people that live here are so afraid to get branded as a racist, or to be branded as insensitive, or to be branded as not caring about the plight of the homeless. People are so tripped up by their ideology that they won't say anything for fear of being shunned by the people they work with, the people that they live with, the people that they know in their neighborhoods and their communities. Because activism is a big part of Portland, and I respect that. I actually respect it and enjoy it. I like it. I like the fact that people aren't afraid to get out there and have their voices heard. But there is a line. There is a line between activism and terrorism. There's a line between activism and destruction. No different that there's a line between having an argument in your relationship and abuse. They are not the same. But the people of this city are so afraid to say anything that is counter to the narrative of everybody deserves everything, everybody gets everything, nothing is wrong, that we can't even look at a situation like this and say to our chief of police, to our mayor, what the hell are you doing? Why are you allowing 4 city blocks to be occupied? This is U.S. soil. I'm an American patriot who served in this military. We don't occupy our own cities against our own citizens. That does not happen. That is absolutely asinine. And regardless of how it looks or how it sounds, that is not right. The people that are at the Red House are not the only ones on Mississippi Avenue. They're not the only ones that have to get through that. I heard from the chief of police, he put out a statement, with the occupation on Mississippi Avenue, emergency vehicles might not be able to move freely. Then what the heck are you doing? It's not my job to go down there and tell them to move. That's why you're in that position. And if Wheeler doesn't want to do his job, he should relinquish. And if he won't relinquish and he won't do his job, the governor should step in. This is basic civics. You go to work every day and you're a news reporter. You have certain tasks that you have to do, certain people that you're responsible to, certain people that you report to. You don't get to go in and say, I'm not going to interview this person today. And in Portland right now, we have leadership that are making the decisions about what they will and what they won't do, while their constituents, like myself now, I'm a registered voter here in Oregon, in Pennsylvania, or sorry, in Portland, excuse me. Constituents like myself sit here frustrated. I appreciate you letting me let me get that off my chest. That's been bugging me.
No, of course. No, it's well, that's it. It's like, I think you and I are kind of similar in that regard, where I always saw myself on one end of the spectrum, and then I got here and it's like, oh, I don't know where I stand anymore, because things have just shifted greatly. And so, you know, when it comes down to this Red House, I mean, we're hearing now that it sounds like they've made some kind of deal with the city, and it sounds like the barricades might be coming down. But, you know, I think what you said is kind of important, in just the sense of, like, is this how we get our way now? Is it like, it seems like in order to get anything done, you have to do something like this, and that's ridiculous in a nutshell.
It is ridiculous. And you know, the unfortunate thing is that it's pick and choose, because if this is the precedent that's being set, it's only if it's deemed to be publicly damaging to Ted Wheeler, or in line with this Antifa, overly aggressive left-wing way of doing things. Because if they come to repossess my car tomorrow, and I stand in front of it with one of my AR-15s, more than likely, I'm going to be arrested, because I don't have the connections to get 300 people to come stand in front of my building. And you probably don't either. So what are we doing? The people that are willing to utilize that as their way of getting things done, right? That is not going to be the structure or the bedrock that's going to uphold Portland as a city for people to come to do business with. If we just take that and we play it out on a long enough timeline, does that lead, when COVID hopefully is over down in the future, does that lead to Portland being a destination for people to come and visit for tourism, for businesses downtown? No. The people that are creating businesses, that are employing people, that are paying their taxes, that are paying their mortgage on time, those people are going to leave. They're going to leave, like they're leaving right now. And there won't be anything left. Portland is going to be Gotham City. There's going to be nothing left of any sort of structure or it baffles me that the leadership can look at this and say, yeah, this is a great way for us to move forward and get some semblance of normalcy back in our city.
I want to ask what it was like when you got down there. Were you able to walk in freely? What was the process to get in, or did anybody stop you or talk to you while you were there?
So I was there on Tuesday, and I was approached by people with firearms. But I'll just leave it at this. They approached me with a firearm and they quickly turned and walked the other direction. Okay, so read into that however you want. When I went down there yesterday, I walked right up. I had my camera with me, and there was a person that stopped me at the first gate. And he says, "Are you with news or are you law enforcement?" I said, "No." I said, "I just want to document it, get some pictures." And he said, "Okay, great." And he actually asked me if I wanted something to eat. And I told him no. So he kind of gave me the layout. He goes, if you go, through this entrance and you walk further down, you're going to see there's an entrance to your left, and that'll take you right into the zone. So as I walked in, like initially I passed maybe 4 or 5 people. They saw my camera, which had a 70 to 200 lens. And they asked about the camera, but it was more like, wow, that's a big lens. Like nobody was giving me a hard time. When I went through the first level that has the cellophane wrapped around, this was probably around 10 o'clock in the morning. There was no one there. So I was able to take pictures, and I really thought the whole area was empty. I didn't realize that as you got to the back of that cellophane area, that's where the entrance to the actual zone and closer to the house was. So as I walked through the gate on that left side and then went down, that's where people were actually encamped and they were sleeping. So I started to get questioned. People were saying, "Hey, what are you doing here? Hey, who are you?" And I literally just kept moving. And I said, "Yeah, I talked to the people at the front. They said it was cool." And you could tell, like, I could hear people whispering and having conversations, but the guy at the front actually told me he was going to radio that it was cool for me to come in. So I'm assuming he did that, because by the time I got down to that first level, I was questioned, but I just literally told him that I was just there to get some pictures and take some video, and I wasn't going to cause any trouble. And they said, cool. That was pretty much my answer to everybody. I would say that I might have gotten questioned 5 or 6 times. It wasn't until I got up to the actual backyard of the red house where there was a lot of people camped out. So I was a little shocked when I got up there at the number of people that were back there. There were maybe 25 or more tents that were set up, and people started coming out of the tent. And I was trying to actually walk all the way across that backyard thinking that I could get back to Mississippi, but I couldn't. And then more people started to rustle and started to kind of like wake up, and they were asking questions I could hear in the background. I didn't feel like I was in any danger, but then I kind of started thinking to myself, there's more people here than I assumed at first, so I should probably just go. So at that point in time, I just kind of doubled back, walked the opposite direction, and just went out the way that I came. Nobody said anything, nobody chased me or anything, but I could tell that it was early. People were asleep. People seemed like they were setting up and kind of staging things and moving things. But by the time I got to the backyard of the red house, people started asking questions, and I just thought that it was probably my best interest to leave.
Yeah. What would you say was the most surprising part about being back there? Was it the number of people or the amount of supplies or like just the barricade? Anything that really kind of surprised you that you weren't expecting to see?
I wasn't expecting it to be that big, to be honest with you. Like, my initial thought process was that it was just that barricade that's right there at the intersection, right? So you have that barricade, and then if you look over it, you can see down to the next block. So I just thought that was it. So getting back there and actually seeing like how fortified it was, and I didn't recognize or realize what the rocks were for at first, but when I was walking in, they had rocks staged at different places. They had pipes staged at different places. And I thought that they were doing that in case someone tried to drive through there. But then leaving, I realized that like that's for people to grab and throw towards law enforcement. So I didn't really recognize that coming in, but then I kind of saw it coming out. I think that maybe like going in, I had a more naive thought process about maybe what was going on back there. But then by the time I was leaving the actual backyard, I had that feeling like my sixth sense was kind of starting to kick in. I wasn't scared, but I was aware. And so that's when I started to kind of see things more for what they were. Oh, okay, these are weapons. This is going to be used to throw at somebody.
Yeah. So that's like, and that's what's interesting too, because like, for another reason why, I mean, granted, our management has flat out said we're not going in, but at the same time, like, we don't even know what's there.
Yeah.
And you don't know how big it is, and you don't know what the intention is. I guess I just want to make sure I'm understanding correctly. Is, as a Portland resident, is the most upsetting thing to you, or frustrating, or tell me if I'm using the wrong word, just the fact that like it feels like you need to make a state, you need to do something like that in order to get things done? And like, if you, I guess I don't think I'm saying this right. I guess, does it feel to you as a regular citizen that in order to follow the law, you basically can't right now? In order to get what you need done, you need to take a step like this. Does that am I saying that right? Is that kind of how you're feeling?
Do you mean for me or for them?
For you, just personally, where it's like like I'm going back to when you were saying, you're a law-abiding citizen, you're trying to follow the rules. And does it feel like, at least in this city at this point, in order to get anything done that you want done, you have to take a stand like this, that you can't do things regularly? Is that kind of how you're feeling?
Well, my cat's jumping in here. I haven't broken any laws. Right. And I don't advocate breaking any laws, and I don't advocate any sort of violence. I'm still within the law. All I did was just walk down and take pictures and take a video and share it. It's frustrating to me that the path of interacting with our leaders, let me say it like this. The only people that have a direct line to Ted Wheeler or the district attorney are the criminals. That to me is the most frustrating, because my tax dollars and my vote should give me the opportunity to have access to my civic leaders. But the civic leaders do not, in my personal opinion, someone else might have a different opinion, our civic leaders do not listen to, do not advocate, and do not care about the average person in Portland. The average person making $30,000 to $70,000 a year, going to work every day, taking care of their family, they are of no significance to our leadership. And that to me is the most frustrating. I shouldn't have to have this conversation with you to potentially have a conversation with the mayor. I shouldn't have to have this conversation with you or put videos online. I literally have had to reach out to Andy No. I had to tag Candace Owens in my video. I had to submit my video to the Blaze. I'm not a conservative. I'm not. I cannot stand Donald Trump. I cannot stand Candace Owens. I cannot stand Glenn Beck. I cannot stand Andy No. But the only people that will watch my video and say anything about it and share it and give it any sort of publicity are people who want to utilize it for a negative portrayal of Portland. And I don't think that Portland is a negative place. I think that Portland is a beautiful place. I think that it has so much potential. But the people that are in that $30,000 to $70,000 to $80,000 a year financial range, they have got to start speaking up. If everyone would do a little bit of what I did, if the people that are in the bar directly across from that zone would have gone over there day one, cut that cellophane down and said, we're not doing this. The people that are in those apartment complexes that are located there, the people that are sympathetic to that family in that neighborhood but live in that neighborhood, if they would have taken a stand, it wouldn't have gotten to 300 people. But what's frustrating is that any citizen in this county or in this city doesn't feel that their voice is being heard. The only voice that's being heard are the people that are out there willing to break the law and willing to subvert the system.
Yeah, No, I'm glad you said it. That's really everything that I have. Is there anything that I'm missing that you think would be important that you experienced out there, saw out there, anything that you feel like our viewers should know about that video?
Um, no, I think that what most people didn't get, and what I didn't get on camera, excuse me, were the people on the other side of the barricade. Okay, so this would be before you get to it. Husbands and wives, just normal everyday citizens who were taking pictures, and they were scared. Like, I saw real fear on people's face. They were ducking behind cars, you know, with the fear that maybe somebody was going to shoot them. And these are just like everyday working people, you know, and just, you know, they just seemed so lost. They just seemed lost. And that was really heartbreaking to me, because it's their city too.
Thank you. That's everything that I have. So yeah, thank you for your time and for that video, because really, sorry, really, it's like we have no idea what it was like back there, because we just, after what happened on Tuesday to our crew, we just never went back. So yeah, so that's everything I have. The one thing I guess I need, again, for whatever reason, my management's being pretty particular about it. I'm going to just send you those list of questions again. If you could reply with 4 yeses,
Okay.
that's all I need. Just for whatever reason, our lawyer is like extra.
Yeah, and if you want, I mean, listen, I was a little nervous about it yesterday, but if you want to use the one that's actually on Facebook with the audio, you can.
Okay.
Whatever you need, you can use. You can use those pictures. I'd love to get a copy of this video. That'd be great.
Yeah. I'll send you the link once it's up.
Right.
We're probably going to have it at 5 and 6. That's the plan. We're still trying to see what exactly is happening. It sounds like some kind of deal has been met with the city. And so I don't know if the barricades are going to be coming down today or what. So we're kind of just seeing how it develops, and we'll go from there. But I'll keep you posted
Right.
on when it airs and where you can see it. And yeah, we'll go from there. We'll be in touch.
Right.
Are you heading to Fred Meyer today?
Yeah, 2:30.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. All right, sounds good. Well, Damien, thank you so much for everything.
Of course.
And yeah, we'll be in touch. I'll talk to you soon, but thank you.
Send me that email, and I will go ahead and shoot that back to you immediately. Okay.
Excellent. Thanks so much. I'll talk to you soon.